Good morning. How are we all going? Epic. Seats are around. That's awesome. It's nice and cozy in here, eh? I love it. Who's enjoyed finding your freedom this month? The messages. I've loved how, there's so many different aspects of freedom. There's so many different parts about freedom. I've loved it. And I've learned so much this month. And today I want to talk about free ride or freedom. And when I left school, finished school, graduated, I decided that it'd be great to have a free ride. Stayed at home. I had a personal chef, my mum. She was a personal chef to Dad as well, but I'd like to claim her as my personal chef. I also had a personal cleaner, a personal clothes washer. It was amazing. And even sometimes it was like I had a personal maid because my bed would be made. I didn't know how it happened, but sometimes it would, right? And I thought it was living. It was so good. It was the best free ride in the world. Then my parents decided that I have to pay rent. But you know what? It was only $50. Can't complain. Cannot complain whatsoever. At the time, I was working 2 jobs. I wasn't the worst child in the world. I was busy, right? I was working 2 jobs, full-time, pretty much in both, and it was hectic. But I had this free ride at home, but the thing that I found that I didn't like is sometimes, Mum, I love you, sometimes the meals would just get repetitive. It's the worst. It's like rissoles. What's for tonight? Rissoles. You had that last night. What's for tonight? Rissoles. But come on, Mum, we had that for 3 nights in a row. But you see, freedom can't always be found in a free ride because you're stuck with whatever the person's doing. Now, Yod doesn't take free rides off me, right? But my cousin Ethan, when we go somewhere, we go in my car. It's not because of anything, apart from my car's more reliable. So that's why we choose my car. But when we go somewhere and Yod's in my car with me, it's like his ankles are strapped together and he can't escape anywhere. I have all control in that moment. And this is probably another reason why we don't take his car, because I want the control. You know what I'm saying? That's probably more the reason. The excuse is it's reliable, but I want the freedom. But you see, a free ride doesn't always bring freedom. And there's a man in the Bible that was expecting a free ride. Let's go to John 5, right? New Living Translation. It's gold. We're going to start at 1 and we're going to go through to whenever I stop. Could be all day. It says, afterward, Jesus returned to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish holy days. Inside the city near the sheep gate was the pool of Bethesda with 5 covered porches. Crowds of sick people, blind, lame, or paralyzed, lay on the porches. One of the men lying there had been sick for 38 years. I don't cope well with a sickness for 2 days, let alone 38 years. When Jesus saw him and knew he had been ill for a long time, he asked him, "Would you like to get well?" "I can't, sir," the sick man said, "for I have no one to put me into the pool when the water bubbles up. Someone else always gets there ahead of me." Jesus told him, "Stand up, pick up your mat and walk." Instantly the man was healed. He rolled up his sleeping mat and began walking. But this miracle happened on the Sabbath, so the Jewish leaders objected. They said to the man who was cured, "You can't work on the Sabbath. The law doesn't allow you to carry that sleeping mat." "But," he replied, "the man who healed me told me, pick up your mat and walk." Who said such a thing as that, they demanded. The man didn't know, for Jesus had disappeared into the crowd. What a bloke. But afterward, Jesus found him in the temple and told him, now you are well, so stop sinning or something even worse may happen to you. Then the man went and told the Jewish leaders that it was Jesus who had healed him. You see, this bloke, right? This bloke expected a free ride. What was his excuse? I can't, sir. No one's there to carry me. I can't make it to that. I've got no one to give me a lift, to drive me, to wake me up, to cook me dinner, to wash my clothes, to make my bed. I got no one. But you see, freedom, it's not a free ride. Freedom takes something. It takes an action to step out into. Spiritual freedom is what I'm talking about. You see, earlier I said, like, let's just rest in the presence of God, right? But we need to choose. We need to choose Jesus to receive freedom. But you see, this man, he was just too busy going, no, someone's got to do something for me. The expectation that somebody else was going to do the thing. But Jesus has already done the thing. There's already freedom for this guy. He just didn't know it. But you know what? There's already freedom for you and I as well. You see, there's freedom for you and I, but a lot of the time we get stuck with paralyzing problems. We get in a place and we can't move out of it. I can remember one morning when I woke up, I couldn't move my neck. And I was like, what? Like my head wouldn't move for me. And I was just laying there. And I went, this ain't good. Thankfully, within like 2 to 3 minutes, which felt like eternity, I could then move my neck. But then some other times, like my jaw, it locks open. Have you ever seen somebody walking around? Sweet, it didn't lock. But it's like part of my jaw just pops out and locks in a place and I can't close it without applying pressure or normally screaming out to God to get it to shut. But we can get paralyzed with our problems, you see. And this man, he was paralyzed with his problem because he deemed that he couldn't make it to the water. And he might have been paralyzed. Like literally, he may have been paralyzed. But you see, his problems, the way to go about it was what was making him stuck. He had a way that he needed to achieve the thing. But God had a different way. You see, have you fallen, I've fallen in love with my stuck sometimes. It's so easy, right? Bad habits. So easy to get your way when you're angry. When you're yelling and screaming at someone, it's so easy to get your way. Or maybe you could be the kind of person who uses silent treatment. Please know I've used all of these. I'm not excluded here. But maybe you could use silent treatment to get your way. You know what? My wife Zoe's sitting in the front row here. If I want my way, I'm just going to not talk to her. I didn't like what she said. I'm just going to not talk to her. But you see, it gets the result that we want, right? Because we're probably going to get our way. But we get stuck in these ruts. We get stuck in these places. Misbehaving. Oh, Nate, my son, for those who don't know, he's 19, 20 months, something like that. Just about 20 months. And I was sitting on the couch and we got him a ukulele, a little guitar. And he goes like this. He didn't put it down for like 4 hours that day, I think. And he's carrying it around. And he looks at me and lowers it and drags it. Nate. Hey, bud, pick it up. Pick it up. You see, misbehaving. He got me. He got my attention. That's all he wanted. He just wanted my attention, right? But you see, he's found out that misbehaving gets dad's attention. It's just, when we're looking for attention, We don't care what kind of attention it is. We just want attention. We want to feel like we're loved. We want to feel like somebody wants to spend time with us. Whether it's positive or negative, we want it. So you see, the shortcut that Nate's worked out, I did it with my dad. The shortcut is if I misbehave and drag my ukulele, I get dad's attention. I take a shortcut. I go a free ride because it's easier. Good or bad, I get dad's attention. Nagging. Who's nagged before? Never. I learned that if I didn't get it, I could nag when I was a kid. There was this Superman book, and it was at Woolies. And I went shopping, and I saw this Superman book, and I was like, yeah. Don't ask me how old I was. This is probably like one of my first memories. And there's this Superman book, and I was carrying it with me everywhere through the shop. Then it came time to pay. Beforehand, my parents had continually told me to put it away. And I just kept nagging and nagging and nagging. And then somehow, magically, this guy, it appeared on that little conveyor belt. And my parents missed it. Thank Jesus. And so I walked out of there with this Spider-Man book. But I can remember nagging so much to my parents. And they could have seen it and just been like, he's so annoying, and let it go through. My nagging could have paid off. But it's not the best way to go about something. It's not the free way to go about something. It's not the way that Jesus calls us to go about it. You see, in John 5:6, it says, when Jesus saw him and knew he had been ill for a long time, he asked him, would you like to get well? Do you know that Jesus is asking you that today? He's asking all of us if we would like to get well. But today it may not be an illness. Today it might be an attitude. Today it might be in your language. Today it might be in your relationships. Do you want them to get well? But the key is we don't need somebody else to carry us to the water, because Jesus wants to bring that water to us. He's bringing the water, just like he brought the water to the man instead of the man to the water. He brought the water to the man. He wants to bring the water to you today. He wants to bring it to you. You see, those people, you're probably I think of like a few of them. Father, forgive me. But the people who just want that attention, right? Who will do anything just to crave attention. I used to know a guy who told me 1,700 different stories about his father. His father wasn't around anymore. He separated from his mum and left. And he hadn't seen him in years. And this guy would make up all these excuses just to feel loved and just to get attention. But you see, Jesus is just like, hey, you don't need to make any excuses anymore. You don't need the excuse. You don't need to give me the explanation of why you can't receive something, because Jesus is bringing that something to us. He's bringing it to you today. He's bringing you spiritual freedom today. You see, freedom's a choice that we must make. It's on us. Spiritual freedom is a choice that you must make, because it says that Jesus overcame the world. He overcame sin. He brought freedom to us so that we could be free. It's a choice that we have to make, whether we're going to go, you know what, God, I'm placing my life in your hands, or no, I'm going to keep on walking it my way. I'm going to keep with my attitudes, my behaviors, my everything. I'm going to try and make sense of what it is this world has for me. But Jesus is just like, I've got the answer for you. I've got your freedom for you. You see, we can choose to get our way with a shortcut, getting angry, nagging, silent treatment, That's all shortcuts. It works short term. Last year, I had a pretty bad April, and I was using all these shortcuts to feel loved, to feel acknowledged, to feel something. Where the appropriate action would have been for me, which I did end up doing after a lot of mentoring and guidance, and so grateful for my leaders who recognized it and said, hey, you need some help here. You need some mentoring. You need some guidance here. And you see, in that moment, I then had to go from a shortcut, just getting a person's approval, which is so easy. Do a good job. I'll tell you did a good job. I'm that kind of guy. I encourage people. I will tell someone they do a good job. If you want to feel like that, come and speak to me. You'll only feel like that for a short moment, which is what I was experiencing. So I would try and do and do and do and do more just to get some acknowledgement, just to get some love. Whereas God's just like, hey, I've won that freedom for you already. I've already deemed that you're worthy because I died on the cross for you. You see, it's our choice. We can choose to take the shortcuts, or we can choose to embrace the spiritual freedom that God has for us. Oh, that one there. Let's go back to this, right? The excuses. So let's just bring a reminder, John 5, 6-7. When Jesus saw him and knew that he'd been ill for a long time, he asked, would you like to get well? I can't, sir, the sick man said, for I have no one to put me into the pool when the water bubbles up. Someone else always gets there ahead of me. I learned something. Andrew's my mate when it comes to gardening. I don't garden. So the worship team on Wednesday night heard that the Killips gave Zoe and myself, we both don't really garden well, do we? A dwarf lemon tree when we were engaged or married. And so it's been 6-7 years that we've had this dwarf lemon tree for. We have not seen one bit of fruit. Sorry, a tiny one that died. So if you want to talk gardening, go to someone else. Like, seriously, go to someone else. I know how to kill plants. Apart from we can't seem to kill this cherry tomato bush that we've got growing. It's like multiplying, like a double portion every 6 seconds. But this lemon tree, right, we can't, whatever we do, we've got to do better. We just got to start praying on it, I reckon. Believing for a miracle, because it's not going to come by our hands. But you see, one thing that I learned a couple of weeks back is that lemon trees, God didn't put them there. Hear what I mean when I say that. They're not original. They're not the base. They're not the OG. They are a hybrid. You go and get a bitter orange and a citron. And then they've grafted them together, whatever those words are, and they've made this thing called a lemon. But it's been around for so many years, that I always thought it was just naturally occurring. Because it grows on a tree, right? No one had to do anything for that. But you see, there's this phrase that I grew up with, and I just felt so lied to, like the Easter Bunny, Santa, all those things. There's this phrase I grew up with, and it was, when life gives you lemons, life don't give you lemons. Do you realize that? Life never gave us lemons. We gave them to ourselves. Through our attitudes, through our perspectives, through grafting two things together, we gave lemons to ourselves. So you see, God didn't put that there. He didn't say that you couldn't be healed because you have no one to carry you. God didn't put it there. We did. He didn't say that you can't walk free because of who you are. He didn't say that. We did. You see, God didn't put that there. Oh, it's a good lemon tree, right? It's definitely not mine. I probably should have taken a photo. Oh, no. It's green at the moment. We probably just need to water it more. But you see, I love Moses' story in the Bible because Moses put so much into his story that God didn't put in it. You see, in Exodus 3:11, it says, "But Moses protested to God, 'Who am I to appear before Pharaoh? Who am I to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt? Who am I?'" See, Moses is adding this into his story that God didn't put there. God chose Moses through a burning bush. Exodus 3:12, God's reply, right? God answered, "I will be with you, and this is your sign that I am the one who has sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God at this very mountain." Just like, Moses, I know you think you suck, but I'm there with you. Moses, I know you're trying to add all this extra stuff, but I'm there with you. It hits different when I did this. Pastor Jason, I know you're adding all that extra stuff in your life that I never put in there, but I'm with you. You see, God didn't add that in. He didn't. Moses did. But sometimes things are hard to break, right? Bad habits, hard to break. When I was a kid, picking my nose and eating it. It's hard to break. It's tasty stuff, right? No? Wrong crowd. Sorry. Should be talking to youth right now. I saw one person going, maybe. But you see, Moses, it took a few goes. He's just like in 4:10, he goes, "But Moses pleaded with the Lord, 'O Lord, I am not very good with words. I never have been, and I'm not now. Even though you have spoken to me, I get tongue-tied, and my words get tangled.'" God's response, then the Lord asked Moses, "Who makes a person's mouth?" It's a pretty fair argument. "Who decides whether people speak or do not, hear or do not hear, see or do not see? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go, and I will be with you as you speak. I will instruct you in what to say." You see, spiritual freedom actually takes us to focus on God, to see what God sees in our situation, to see what God sees in our circumstances. We need to remove the focus from ourselves, and we need to focus on Him. You see, it's not by anything that you've done. It's not by anything that you're going to do. You guys are some awesome people. Even the people I haven't met yet, you guys are some legends. I know that. Because God put you on this earth. Because God created you. You see, it's not by anything that you do or don't do, or say or don't say, or listen to or don't listen to. It's 100% by God. So for spiritual freedom, we need to focus on Him. We need to stop adding things into our situation that God didn't put there. We need to start to focus on Him. Choose to walk in freedom. Walking's difficult sometimes, right? In a sense of, when I speak about walking, it's like to change a habit. You've got to do it for so long, continually, not giving up, trying to break an old habit, like waking up in the morning and first thing I do is go to the toilet. I probably should wake up a bit earlier and go and lift some weights or something. But that's like waking up earlier. It's horrible. I don't like early starts, but it'd be a good thing for me to do. But you see, that would be so hard to walk in it to start with, because I've actually got to get it in my spirit. I've got to get it into my body. I've got to let my body know that this is what we do. Let my person know that this is what we do. So choosing to walk in freedom, it's not something that we can do easily. But John 8:32 brings a great encouragement, right? For if you embrace the truth, it will release true freedom into your lives. So what's this truth business? Because this is spiritual freedom, right? The truth business. What does it mean to embrace the truth? Well, for one, stop lying about yourself. Stop doing what Moses did and lying about yourself and what God puts in you. Because you see, true freedom, well, the truth is what God says about you. What God says about you. Who you are, not by who you choose to be. That's not spiritual freedom because that's your choice. That's who I choose to be. It's not spiritual freedom. Spiritual freedom is walking God's life for you. That's spiritual freedom. And you see, there's scriptures around that says slave to righteousness and all this kind of stuff. And I love it. I fought with it so hard. To be a slave to righteousness, if we're slaves already to sin, but now we've got to go to be a slave to righteousness to be free, what does that mean? Well, when a pencil is created to be a pencil, right, it can't go and erase something. Fair call? If you write something down and then try and erase it with a pencil, you just get a lot of scribbles. It doesn't work. You see, a pencil was designed to be a pencil. And God designed you in a certain way. You see, the truth about what God says about you is where true freedom comes from. That is spiritual freedom because I can go and walk and say, yes, that is who I am. I'm walking in alignment with my creation. I'm walking in alignment with my purpose that God designed for me. Not for my next door neighbor, for me. And we can do that. You see, God is not going to lead you into confusion or frustration about who you are, but into freedom and clarity. He's not. It says in Colossians 3:2-3, think about the things of heaven, not the things of earth. For you died to this, and your real life is hidden with Christ in God. You see, your real life is actually hidden in Christ with God. Your true identity is with Christ in God. That's where we're meant to be. That's the position that we're meant to be in. That's when we choose to live God's life in our life. I love getting controversial, so let's go controversial. Because this is what I see a lot of in today's society, and a lot of today's society go, I was born this gender, but I want to change to this one. Right? That is confusion and frustration 101. It's confusion and frustration 101. Because you're deeming that you're not who you were created to be. But you see, true freedom comes from when we embrace the truth about ourselves, about the truth that Jesus died on the cross for our sins, the truth that he loves us unconditionally, the truth that he knew our name when we were in our mother's womb, the truth that he calls you and I beautiful, the truth that he sees more value in you than any flower, than any bird, than any creature on this earth. See, we need to embrace the truth to step into true freedom and start being who we were called to be. I'm not talking about freedom from masks, freedom from mandates, freedom from all that stuff. I'm not talking about freedom from politics. I'm not talking about any of that jargon. I'm talking about freedom from your own decided identity. The one that captivates you and confuses you, the one that says that you can't do it. You see, that's what Jesus is talking about. He's like, no, I've got true freedom for you, and it lies in your identity with me. Highway Church, let's not let our explanation become our limitation. Let's not allow it to. Let's not add something in. Let's stop waiting for someone to take us to the water and start asking God Himself to bring it to us. That's what true freedom is. Receiving it from God and God alone. That's true freedom today. You see, spiritual freedom is living God's way for your life. Not Pastor Jace's way. That's caused me to fail so many times. But spiritual freedom is living God's way for your life, is walking who He designed you to be. I want to leave you guys with this. John 4:14. But those who drink the water I give will never be thirsty again. It becomes a fresh, bubbling spring within them, giving them eternal life. You see, true freedom was found at the cross. True freedom is found with the Holy Spirit. True freedom is found with Jesus. True freedom is here for you today. Why don't we all stand? And what we're going to do is we're going to sing together. Declare true freedom into our life. And we're going to focus on Him right now. Come on. Come on, it's here for you.
Step out of the shadows, step out of the grave, break into the wild, and don't be afraid. Run into wide open spaces, grace is waiting for you. Dance like the weight has been lifted. Grace is waiting. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. There is freedom.
Come on, sing it.
Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. There is freedom. Come out of the dark, just as you are, into the fullness of His love. For the Spirit is here.
Come on, there be freedom.
Let there be freedom. Bring all of your burdens, bring all of your scars. Come back to communion, come back to the start. Run into wide open spaces, grace is waiting for you. Dance like the weight has been lifted, grace is waiting. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, there is freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, there is freedom. Come out of the dark. the Spirit is.
Come on, let there be freedom.
Let there be freedom. Chains will fall, prison shake at the sound of Jesus' name. Lives made whole, hearts awake at the sound of Jesus' name. Chains will fall, prison shake at the sound of Jesus' name. Lives made whole, hearts awake at the sound of Jesus' name.
Come on, there's freedom here. Just step into it with Jesus.
Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. There is freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. There is freedom. Come out of the dark, just as you are, into the fullness of His love. For the Spirit is here, let there
Come on, sing it.
freedom. Let there be freedom.
Come on, He's got it for you.
Dance like the weight has been lifted. Grace is waiting for you. Dance like the weight has been lifted. Grace is waiting. Dance like the weight has been lifted. Grace is waiting for you. Dance like the weight has been lifted. Grace is waiting. Dance like the weight has been lifted. Grace is waiting for you. Dance like the weight has been lifted. Grace is waiting. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. There is freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. There is freedom. Come out of the dark, just as you are, into the fullness of His love. For the Spirit is here.
Come on, let there be freedom.
Let there be freedom. Let there be freedom. Let there be freedom.
Come on, let's. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, let there be freedom. So this week, come on, let's just take Jesus with us. Let's take the Spirit of the Lord. Let's acknowledge Him in all the moments of our day. Let's bring the freedom that Jesus has for us, the spiritual freedom. Come on, join with us in Highway Church Part 2. If you want some prayer, the altar out the front here, it's going to be open. We're going to have a prayer team up here if you would like some prayer. But apart from that, let's go and be a family. Go catch up, go encourage. God bless. See you next week.